How's it going, my Comic Chat Army? I know you clicked the Josh Werner interview, but before you get to that, so we just wanted to say thank you to Josh for letting us play with your creators for this whole month of Source Point Press Month. Part 2, and depending on how good this playlist does, we'll do a Part 3, but that'll be next year. Is there anything you want to say to these people before we let them watch the interview?
No, just thank you.
And this
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And Josh Werner did an amazing job on this interview, and this is how interviews should be done. But with no further ado, Josh Werner. So how's it going, my Comic Chat Army? We're here today with Josh Werner. How you doing, Josh?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on and being the last interview of Source Point Press Month.
Yeah, this has been so cool to see all of these fantastic creators getting featured and getting some well-deserved time to discuss some of the projects they've been working on. I'm so lucky to get to work with so many talented people.
Oh, I could imagine. So really quick, who came up with Source Point Press? Was it always Source Point Press?
Yeah, so it was 2012. I had met a writer named Trico Luckins at a convention, and we ended up getting together to do a book, and we were talking about publishing options. And at this point, I'd already been freelancing for a lot of other publishers, and I knew a lot about, publishing. So I had suggested, well, what if we just self-published and we did it ourselves, but we kind of built a company image around it. It was really kind of meant to be almost be like a shell company, like a fake company. Mm-hmm. And little did we know that we were just about to start something much bigger than we could have imagined. And so we had started working on this comic, and we had put together this. By December, I think I had come up with the name, and I had suggested Source Point Press as being this source point, this beginning area in which we could branch out in any direction we choose. Like the future was endless; it could go anywhere. So, but it was the very first, source point, and then from there, we chose that name out of a list that we'd both kind of bounced back and forth. And then I designed the logo, and we made the announcement, I think, in December. And then it wasn't far into 2013, we had already released a handful of things. And I think by the following year, we had already had like a dozen titles out. It got pretty crazy out of nowhere. And people just started flocking to us and like, oh, there's a new publisher. I'm really interested in what you guys are doing. And I'm like, oh gosh, we have no idea what we're doing. Let's see if we can figure this out now.
Nice. So do you have the same philosophy as Image? Like the creators keep everything except for the name or something? I think that's what it is.
We were kind of like a hybrid company. So we have a whole division that's just creator-owned books. That's just like Image. So so the creators, we don't try to take ownership of their IP. We don't try to buy them out. They get to keep all the rights, and then we get rights to publish, rights to pitch on their behalf, and just enough to be able to make sure that we're getting their work out into the world. And then on top of that, our creator-owned section, we also have some in-house IPs, the way that Marvel and DC work. We have some of our own books that we create, or we have our own universe, and then we also handle licensing too. So we take on licenses of other IPs, and we develop those books in-house too. So we allow like creators to come to us with their work, and we publish it, and we take care of their printing and their marketing and their distributing and their shipping. And then on top of that, we also are able to actually offer up some jobs too. So we actually pay. For our in-house books, we actually pay people to write. We pay people to do arts, and it's a tricky balance to be able to do both well. But I'm pretty proud of what we've been able to do so far for being a pretty young company.
Yeah, I like 90% of y'all's books. We like.
Thanks, man. I'm glad to hear that.
I haven't read them all. But everything that I've read that y'all put out, I was like, yeah, I like this. So do y'all actually have a brick and mortar building?
Yeah, we do. It's over 100 years old. I'm in it right now. It's 3-story building in old downtown Saginaw. It's beautiful. It kind of looks almost like it looks like the Ghostbusters station, actually, quite a bit. That's what people usually say. And we don't have like a fire pole or anything cool, but but it does kind of have that look. It's our headquarters where we have a multi-floor warehouse. With a whole warehouse staff now, and we have right now in my room, this is the the creative like suite. This is the design room where all of my people do their work. So we've got 3D modelers who work on minifigures for our board game division. We've got artists and writers and editors and creators who are constantly helping me keep all these comics going. We've got a marketing team over here too. It's pretty cool. It takes a full crew of people to make this work every day.
Nice. Do y'all ever plan on making like minifigs of your comic characters?
Maybe. We are kind of dipping our toes into some development on some new product lines right now. We haven't really announced what they're all going to be, but we've definitely been experimenting behind the scenes on trying out all sorts of different stuff, including potential toy lines. We've already made prototypes of things that we were just trying to experimenting with and figuring out manufacturing and distribution and how to be able to invest enough money into it to really get it a running start. That's really the hard part. As far as ideas and capability, we've got lots of that. I mean, we have all the talent we need. It's just it's really hard to launch a new product line well and make sure it's not going to fail right out the gate.
Do y'all do Kickstarter or anything or crowdfunding?
Yes, we have a pretty regular Kickstarter schedule. We do a Kickstarter pretty much every few months, but it's hard. It's hard for us to keep up with. So we've been trying to limit ourselves to make sure that we're getting people product before we're holding another Kickstarter, and that can get tricky because right now there's a ton of waiting problems that are outside of our control. A lot of it is shipping timelines. We had some major issues with the port in California. We had a ship stuck there for 4 months with a bunch of our product on it, and we couldn't get it. It was just right outside of our reach, and it was horrible. During that time, we lost thousands and thousands of dollars in orders. If people just took it back, they just said forget it, and it really cost us. And there's a big paper shortage happening right now, and that's kind of affecting everything. We print our books and comics for the most part in North America, and we've been affected really heavily. I've juggled between 3 different factories trying to make it work. I just had our printing bill shoot up. It was almost a 50% hike. So it was like half of double the price that we were supposed to get. And when I did the math, I realized we would make no profit on any of the books. No. And I was like, oh, okay, that's exactly how a business our size goes under. It's from one crazy crisis like that. It's all it takes. So I've been really navigating that, and that's been affecting our board game division too. It was a worldwide issue. So our board games are affected. Our entire supply chain's been interrupted. So I've been spending every day just kind of trying to work us through this crisis. And in the meantime, it's really slowed up our product line. So Kickstarter has become more difficult for us, because a lot of and I don't blame the customers at all. They pay for a product. They're the first people to show up and support. They deserve to get their stuff in a timely manner. But I think that there's a big disconnect. They really don't know quite how big some of the issues are in the background that we're up against. It's not just us. It's all small publishers. The big publishers, they're like, when I say big, I mean mostly Marvel and DC. They're less affected by this because they actually outright own all of their factories that they do their products in, and they have a very steady supply chain. And even they have been having a lot of books just not show up on time and distribution problems, and they've been super late on things, and they don't even have to face the same kind of struggles we do. It's tricky. But that being said, Kickstarter's been really good to us, and we plan to keep going there when we need to. And every single time we do, we try really hard to reward those people with getting way cooler stuff than what the rest of the market gets. They always get something really special and exclusive that other people can't get. And that has been just an absolute gift to us to help us keep this process rolling when we face a new struggle and we don't have just a bunch of cash laying around on hand to be able to try some new things out for people. So I'm very lucky that we've got the support that we do.
Oh yeah, do y'all have like a rival publishing house?
Kind of, in a way. I would say it's definitely friendly rivalries for sure. When we were a little bit smaller and newer, we used to get compared to Devil's Due a lot, and we're we're in Michigan and they're in Illinois, so we had this almost like Detroit versus Chicago thing going, and that was, you know, friendly, of course. That's really not been the case anymore lately. I think nowadays we get lumped in with Aftershock and Scout Comics, and we know the people who run both of those companies, and they're great guys, and we're all friends. But I would say that when going to the comic shop, if you're into the type of stuff that we publish, those are kind of the companies that you're looking at. You're probably looking at Aftershock, you're looking at Vault, you're looking at Scout, and you're looking at us, and you're trying to figure out, well, what am I going to buy today? I can't buy all of it. So that's really, I would say, where our main competition lies, is that you've got to choose between one of these if you want to kind of live in that genre and that style of storytelling. The one thing, though, that we kind of have over top of all of them is that we have our gaming division, and it allows us to kind of cut down some of the walls of competition with our competitors and in both companies. So we got Deepwater Games and we got SourcePoint Press. And so Deepwater Games can't compete with Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven's a big game, box game. It's a huge box from an awesome, incredible publisher, and they're just killing it out there. So it's like, instead of Deepwater trying to compete with that incredible game with sales, we just go to them and say, we have a comic book company over here. Why don't we partner with you instead? We would love to be telling your story through comics. So next thing you know, somebody who should be our biggest competitor is now someone we collaborate with and we make money off of, and they make money off of us. We just support each other. And then vice versa. So we look at Image Comics, and we look at some of these just amazing, incredible books that they've had out for decades, and we're just like, wow, we can't compete with Image. So how about we stop trying to? How about we partner with them instead? And that's how we go to them with Rat Queens, and we say, we love Rat Queens. We're huge fans. We don't want to try to compete against Rat Queens. How about, did you know we have a game company, a board game company? How about we make a Rat Queens board game for you? And the next thing you know, we're collaborating with what would otherwise be our competition on this side of the table too. So we're kind of in a really unique position that I can't think of any other publisher quite like us who does that. We go straight to our competition and say, let's partner, let's do some stuff together. It's really cool to be able to do that, because we're all fans and we all want everybody to succeed. We all want to bring more people to this industry. We don't want to fight over the same piece of pie. We just want to add more pies. You know, we want to get bigger. We want more people to say, you know what, this is how I like to be entertained, and this is where my interests lie now, and this is who I want to support and who I want to give my hard-earned money to, so that I can enjoy something. And how you decide to enjoy your time, how do you decide to spend your money? That's really the goal. It's about reaching out to more people, not fighting over the same handful all the time.
All right. And I know that you are a creator also.
Yeah. So I came into this mostly doing, I was doing a lot of like freelance illustration back in the day. I was doing a lot of book covers and things like that. I actually came from mostly like I started working for a lot of bands, doing t-shirt designs and album covers and stuff like that. And then I switched over I started doing fashion design, and I was designing like custom jackets for rappers for a while. And then I kind of like was simultaneously, my love of comics was always happening. So I was freelancing for publishers, doing books and spot illustrations, and I was doing a lot of like novels as well. And I was also writing on the side as well. And then I started, dabbling more into comic books, and, I was doing logo design and pre-press. And next thing you know, I was doing pencils and inks and colors and letters. And then SourcePoint, was happening. And now ever since, I've been trying to take a back seat as a creator to really focus on making other people's projects come to life and help them along the way. And if that means I'm just editing their work or helping guide the creative process, or sometimes that means that I just jump in and I do the letters for them, or I just do the colors, or I just design their logo to make it look better, or I do some cover art for them. That's pretty much what I do now. I just kind of I help people out where they need on their projects, and I just kind of help them bring it to life. But I still get to do some cool stuff on my own when I have time. I have my own series out called Winchester Mystery House. It's the story of one of the most haunted places in America and how it came to be. And That's been just a joy to work on, and I'm going to be continuing that for our second volume later this year. And I still get to do some art here and there, mostly cover work, and I always love doing that, jumping in and getting to knock out a painting, do something cool.
Are you available for consultations, or you don't have time?
I used to have a website with where I would do consultations for all sorts of people, and I used to have my own web store with products, and I ended up slowly taking all that down and kind of stripping that all away because my time is so eaten up. I do it once in a while where I can squeeze it in for the right people, but for the most part, I'm here at this office between 6 and 7 days a week. I work about 60 hours, and I'm pretty much, this is my love, is just keeping this going. But if somebody really came to me and said, hey, from another company or something, and said like, hey, we really need your help with something, or we really love to have you do this one thing for us, I'll make time, or if a creator out there really needs help with something, I'll try to make time for them too.
All right. Where's the most common mistake you see people making when they're submitting a comic to a publisher?
I think that a lot of people get in over their head a little too soon, and they don't realize just how difficult it can be to maintain a series. So when I see creators who haven't been published before, and they come to us with a pitch for even a 6-issue miniseries, I look at that and say, that's too many issues. I don't have faith that you're going to be able to get through this in a timely manner. It's so hard. And a lot of these creators, they'll work on issue 1 of their comic for about a year. And they finally finish that issue, and they're so excited that they start pitching to everybody. And publishers we can't solicit something to a distributor without knowing exactly how the schedule for the rest of the release is going to be. Like, I need to know when this story ends, exactly how many issues. The distributor needs to know in advance, several months in advance, exactly when they'll get every single book. So I can't pitch to Diamond. I can't solicit this until the series is almost done. So I can't do anything with their issue 1. The first thing we can do is say, we really like your idea and I want to greenlight this, but how long before issue 2 is going to be done? How fast can you actually put out a comic for a monthly release schedule? Because that's going to affect when we put this out, and that's going to affect whether or not I can say yes. Because you say like we'll be ready to solicit in the fall. Well, then I'll say, you know what? We actually have a book in the fall that's actually going to compete with this. It wouldn't work time-wise. Like, it's too similar. That could affect things. So what we end up finding out is that a creative team who took a year to do one comic often thinks, well, now that we're rolling, we can put out a comic a month. They usually can't. I mean, people who do this full time can struggle putting out a comic a month. It's really difficult. So I like to do 3-issue miniseries with newer creators. It's small, it's bite-sized, it's doable. Or a one-shot comic is great. We love one-shots, where it's just like, hey, we're going to do this one story. It finishes in this one comic. If the people like it, if it does well, you can always go do another one-shot with the same characters in the same universe. You can keep building that slowly over time, and it gives the creative team breathing room, where they're like, okay, great. If it takes us 4 months to put out a second comic, so be it. No big deal. We're not on a monthly schedule. We can put these one-shots out over time slowly. So I think the biggest mistake people make is they dive into something much larger than what they are prepared for. It takes years of doing this before you can start really getting on a long, ongoing series schedule. I've got people pitching me for 20 issues, for 30 issues, they don't even have an end issue. They're like, this is just going to be ongoing. And if they can sustain this for years, it doesn't. Creator-owned comics rarely work that way. Unless you're Robert Kirkman, good luck making the sales you need to get to an issue 20. Usually what you see with even big companies like IDW is issue 1 is up here. Issue 2 is about 50% of the sales of issue 1. So it drops way down. And then from there, it's like a steady decline. And then if you get to issue 4 and you're still above your minimum for what you need to print to be able to make this work cost-wise, congrats, you did great. Like, that's incredible. Like, you got through an enforcing miniseries without losing money. That's phenomenal. But if you think you can keep going after that and continue to not lose money, it's hard after that. It's very, very hard. You have to be a pretty big company with some really big names to do that usually.
Well, appreciate everything you just told us, Josh. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
Don't get disheartened in this industry. I think it's so easy to feel beat up when you get rejections. I think the number one thing that everybody needs to remember is when you are doing it, when you're out there making it on your own and you're making it happen, that's when publishers like us, we start to turn and look at what you're doing. We're more interested in you when you're doing it, when you're killing it all on your own, than when you are coming to us repeatedly without finishing any projects on your own. So if we say no, keep going. It's always a temporary no. You always have another shot. You always have a chance at getting in bookstores. Like, you just keep doing it. Even if you think you're doing it for yourself and nobody else, do it anyway. It's always worth it.
All right. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
What? You mean you haven't subscribed to Comicchatauthority? Oh, come on. Subscribe already. What are you waiting for? It's no big deal. Like, man, don't forget to tell him to hit that like button. Yeah, that too. Just subscribe.